All right, I'm going to get you guys to do 4 chapters in this vocabulary book. The first chapter is going to be on word classes. The next one's going to be on word families and word parts. Third's on collocations. And collocations, this is an area I cover in my writing class too. And the fourth is going to be on word grammar. Now, word grammar is the same thing as what I call word patterns. And I cover this in the writing class too. Okay, and well, word classes is also covered in writing class too. Okay, so this is the number one most common mistake, grammar and vocabulary mistake. So this is word class, and then I think the second mistake, if I'm not wrong, was I'm not sure if it's collocations or word patterns, but the second and third is one of these. Okay, so these are very important. In fact, these 4 chapters will help you to really improve in your grammar and your vocabulary, more so for the vocabulary aspects, but grammar and vocabulary, a lot of both of them are quite similar. Okay, so it's all to do with basically your writing in the end, and writing with the proper words with the proper structure. All right, so this video is going to go through all the 4 chapters. And then after that, I will get you to do it for homework. And then I will produce another video going through the answers, right? So, word grammar. Let's start with word classes actually. Okay, so word classes. I'm not going to go through everything, but just read through this first page, right? And then the word classes, mainly we're talking about 4 word classes: nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Okay. Then you go to, this is your first activity. What you're going to do is you're going to look at this paragraph and all the underlined words, put them into the correct column in this table. For example, study, is it a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb? So put them in the correct column. That's all you have to do. All right. Next, you notice that there are words that belong to 2 or more word classes. All right. So, for example, let's take a look at the word run. Okay. Now, run is of course most commonly used as a verb. All right. But there is also the word run. It's also a noun. So you can see that the word run belongs to 2 word classes at least. It's a verb, it's a noun, even though of course it's used more commonly as a verb. But what does a word run as a noun mean? For example, he went for a run. Okay, that's a noun, right? So if you say he went for a run, okay, that's a noun. He ran the race. That is a verb this is actually in the past simple tense. Okay, but it's a verb, right? So now let me go to a dictionary online. Okay, this is a Macmillan dictionary, which I use it always with my students, and I get my students to use it too. And I am going to use this very often I use it in my notes in writing class too. All right. And right now you're going to use it. So just want to show you run. If you input the word run, and the first thing that comes out is a verb. Let's just close this a while. Okay. That means and there's also a noun version here. You look at this, okay? But why does the word run as a verb come up first? Simply because it's more commonly used as a verb in English, okay? So if we let's open this in a new tab. We look at run as a noun, and okay, it's still there. But why didn't it? This is a noun, but why didn't it come first when we looked it up? Because this is actually more common. Okay, now look at the 3 stars. You can check this. Okay, 90% of the time speakers of English use just 7,000 words in speech and writing. Okay, so now 3 stars means that it's the top 2,500. 2 stars, a word with 2 stars beside it means it's in the top 5,000 most commonly used words. And 1 star means it's in the top 7,500. All right. And of course, if you have no stars, means it's outside the top 7,500 words. Okay. So anyway, as you can see, both the verb run and the noun run are, they have 3 stars, which means both are actually very commonly used. They are both in the top 2,500 words. But the reason why this verb came up first is because this is actually more common. All right. Okay. So as I was saying, many words have more than one word class. For example, even the word play. Okay, play, you will see the verb coming up first because it is more common. The word play is more commonly used as a verb. All right, but there's also a noun, play. Right, and as you can see, both of them. Even though this is less common, this is still in the top 2,500 most commonly used words. This is also in the top 2,500, but it's actually more common than the word play as a noun. Okay, so there are some words that can be part of that can have 3 word classes. They have 3 word classes. Could be a verb, noun, adjective, or something like that. And there's some that with 4. Okay, there are some with 4. And there are also some with just 1. For example, if you say encouragement is a noun, happens to be with 2 stars, which means it's in the top 5,000 words in English. I think every word which is in the top 5,000, top 2,500, even top 7,500, you need to know these words, okay? Because that's just the most basic. These are the most basic and most common words. As it says here, 90% of the time speakers of English. Now, take note, is speakers, okay? Of course, it really depends on this. You're really talking about speaking, basically informal speaking, more so than formal. And you're not talking about writing, right? Writing will be pretty much different, okay? Because writing a lot of times is more formal. So here we are talking about speakers. 90% of the time, speakers use only 7,500. If you look at the writing, of course, they'll probably use, more than 7,500 words. Okay. Now, but anyway, encouragement is a noun, right? It's only 1 word class. Okay. There's no related word. I mean, the same word in a different word class. This is a noun. What is the verb? Encourage. Okay. Right. This is a verb. And is there an adjective for encouragement? Okay, you think about it. Is there an adjective? Now, right now, encourage as a verb there's only 1 word class. Encouragement is a noun. There's only 1 word class. But as you saw just now, run and play could be both a noun and a verb. All right. So anyway, this chapter is all about talking about word classes. So here, this activity is all these words have only 1 word class, and you should know which word class. Now they're only talking about nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So it's only going to be 1 here. Okay. Now, you can do it by yourself, just guessing. Okay. Or you can go to the dictionary. It doesn't really matter. Okay. I will encourage you to do it by yourself first, and then after go through the correction videos, and then see where you're wrong. Okay, of course, dictionary is so much easier. You just go to the dictionary and you find the word class. Okay, so all these only have 1. It wouldn't be 2, just 1 only. Then it comes to this section. Okay, this is a bit tricky. Now, the first thing you need to do, all right, is this blank. There's a missing word here, and this bracket is basically the word class of this word that's missing. Now, you may think, how on earth am I going to know the word class of the blank word? Actually, if you are aware of English and how the English sentence is constructed, you would basically know how to, basically know roughly what kind of word class this word is. Okay, and I will go through the answers with you, and I'll kind of like analyze in greater detail why you should know that this is of this word class. But try it by yourself first. I mean, firstly, look at Okay, I'll give you a clue with number 2. And e-commerce is is an article, and after an article, there's always has to be a noun. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be straight away. For example, you say, I have a pen. So is an article and pen is a noun. Okay. Now, you could also, you don't have to have the noun come directly after the article, but it has to come somewhere, maybe directly after, maybe 2 words, the second word after, maybe the third word after. For example, you can say, I have a blue pen. Now, the article is here. Here's your noun, but you have an adjective before that, blue, describing the noun, okay? Or you could say, I have a expensive blue pen. Here you have 2 adjectives. Expensive is an adjective. Blue is an adjective. Pen is a noun. Now I'll go through a bit of what the 4 word classes are: nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. I go through a bit in the writing class too, but I also tell my students this is the most basic in a sentence, in the English sentence. So if you're not sure what a verb, a noun, an adjective, and an adverb is, I mean, most students are kind of like sure a bit. They know generally, but they don't really know in great detail. And you should kind of like find out more about it. So do your research, and I encourage my students, search in your native language, whatever it may be. Okay, if it's easier for you to understand. Okay, I rather that you understand these terms very thoroughly than try to look at the English definition of it and have no clue what it's talking about. Okay, so this is where you can use Google and go to search for it, what is a verb in noun, verb, adjective, adverb in your own native language, and they will give you a clearer answer, and that's good. Okay, that will help you understand better. If that is the case, then go ahead. Okay, these terms are important. All right, but basically a noun is a thing, an idea. I'm going to touch on that a bit in writing class too, but you can go and do your work right now, a bit of research right now, okay? If you have not gone through writing class 2 yet, okay? So anyway, so that the clue is here, okay, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what goes here, but please remember, after an article, there has to be a noun, right? And it could be here, this could be a noun, this could be a noun, this could be a noun, I don't know. You go and think about it. And then I will go through in more detail. So it will be interesting. Some of you may learn some things when I analyze a sentence, because you need to know how to analyze a sentence, especially for those who are very weak in your grammar. Okay, so that is the first part. This part here, which is don't write the missing word. That is not the question here. This is not what your task is. Your task is to write just N, V, ADJ, or ADV in the bracket here. Leave this blank. Okay, the first thing they want to find out if you can analyze it properly, understand the English sentence properly. Okay, it's a very good activity. Okay, and most students will get this wrong, mistakes here and there, and that's good. You will learn something when you go through my video later on this activity. All right, so that's the first thing. Just put NV, ADJ, ADV. Okay, for up to 12 sentences. Don't worry about this. After you have put that, okay, in, and if it's correct, say for example verb, okay, and here this activity before is actually related to this, because if you got it correct, okay, and you've got this correct too, this is a noun, this is a entire, is an adjective, etc., then you are going to pick one of these words. If it says is a verb, so which are the verbs, and one of the verbs here have to fit here. Okay, all right, but of course if you get this wrong, which you shouldn't, I mean, but or if you get this wrong, then you can't really connect the dots, and you can't really pick one, because if you say this is a I don't know, an adjective, say for example, or whatever it may be, and then you look at the adjectives and you put one of it here, but this is in the first place is not an adjective, this was not an adjective, then it's going to be wrong. Okay, so this is a bit tricky and complicated, but it's a very good exercise to really train you to understand English. Okay, so that was the second part, and it's mentioned here. Okay, and when you, in the case of verbs, you may pay attention to the endings. Right, next, words belonging to 2 or more word classes. Okay, so just now it's just 1, so right now it's 2 word classes, and again you can use a dictionary if you want to. If not, just try your best. Okay, and then after you've done this, if you got it correct, you don't even have to do this first, but it will give, if you do this correctly, there will be clues for this, okay, for this question. So the question here is the underlined word, what kind of word class is it? Okay, so as you can see, excess here, excess is both a noun and adjective, but there's only, of course, it's only used in one way, okay? It can't be both a noun and an adjective. So which one is it? Whichever it is, just put the NV, ADJ, ADV. All right? So you do this first, and then after you do this, very simple. It's the same thing, exactly the same thing again for this part. You put the word class, and then you fill in the underlined word is from which word class. Okay? And you do it until here. Okay? Now, if you want to, you can go through here. Okay, but I'm not going to go through this but at least do it, do this until 4.1. All right, let's go to the next chapter, next unit, word families and word parts. Very similar to the previous one. So anyway, whatever I skip through, just please go and read it. It will help you, okay? And okay, let's go to this first activity. Words that do not change form. So there are some words, just like just now we mentioned run. Remember we mentioned run and play, right? Run is a verb. Run is also a noun. Play is a verb. Play is also a noun. So there are some words that do not change forms when for the nouns and the verbs. So change is a verb. Change is also a noun. But then there are some that, of course, do change forms. Just like just now I mentioned encourage and encouragement. Encourage is a verb. Encouragement is a noun. Same for this. Restrict is a verb. Restriction is a noun. So this exercise is basically what you have to do is, if the word does not change forms, if this is the verb, if the noun does not change its form, just like change is a verb, change is also a noun, then just put a tick. However, if there's a change in form, like restrict is not a noun, restrict is a verb, but restriction is a noun. Okay, then you just write it out. Okay, so do this for this. Again, if you want to, you can use the dictionary. If you really have no idea, then if your language is that bad, your English level is that bad, of course you need to use the dictionary. Okay, but if not, try to do it without using the dictionary. Then after that, go to the answers, or go to the dictionary and see whether you're right or wrong. Okay. Second, here there are various words. Put these words in the correct place under nouns, verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. Okay. And then basically through what you've done here, if you're correct, you can see that, for example, activate. You can see that the suffixes, which are those that these letters that come behind the word, ate, all right, ate. You see that? You know that, okay, all the ate, now ate could be a verb. If you look at a word with a suffix ate, it could be a verb or it could be an adjective. All right. So yeah, at could be a verb, at could be an adjective. And after you fill in like behavior, OUR, where's O? Is that OUR here? Okay, OUR is not here. ATE, again, which one is it here? MENT, okay, development. MENT is always a noun, okay, so you just put it here, right? And then ENCE, where is that? Okay, so it's just kind of like teaches you a bit that you can spot the word class for some words, not all words, based on the suffix. Okay, but of course, like you see, ate could be both a verb and an adjective. So just because you look at a word with an at suffix doesn't mean it's one or the other. It could be either. All right. And we go to the next one. You don't really have to do this. You can do this. It will help you. I will probably go through this. Okay, but it's not really necessary. But I'll still go through it in the videos. Okay, what you do is firstly you write a word with this with this prefix. Okay, return, renounce, whatever it may be. Okay, and then again, just as suffix, well, suffix sometimes tells you meaning, it sometimes tell you what kind of word class. Some prefix, they will tell you what kind of there's meaning attached to it. Okay, then after that you will go to this place and this next activity, and again back is the RE. After late basically will be the post. Post means after or late. Okay, RE means again. All right, so after you've done this, then you match the prefixes to the meaning. This is using negative prefixes, which here the prefix gives you a bit of meaning, so you can kind of like know the meaning of the word through the prefix that it uses, if it has a prefix. Not all words have, but then there are some prefix that, like these here, that the moment you put it before a word, if it fits, it gives you the negative, the opposite meaning. Okay, like certainty, uncertainty, the UN here. Now, it's not this, it's not in, it's not IR certainty, it's not abcertainty, it's UN. Now, why is it like that? I mean, there's no reason. Okay, it's just the way it is. So, satisfactory, which one? Which negative prefix will come before satisfactory to give you the opposite meaning? Okay, so go through this. Now, family members that look different from each other. So if you look at long, this is related to length. Now, they don't look very much the same, do they? Okay, I mean, in a sense, maybe you're so familiar with it. At least both of them start with the word, the letter, same letter, but they don't really look similar in a sense. Okay, so anyway, this is just to match it. So long, firstly put here the word class ADJ, adjective. Length is a noun, put N. And then here you can put E, because this is related to this. Need, okay, and what is the word class, and then which word on the right is related to it. Remember, there are different word class. This is an adjective, this is a noun, okay? Word families are, in the same family, so-called, but different word classes. So compete is a verb. What is the noun version of compete? Competition. So you can say that these are within the same word families. Okay, so use all this and fill in the blanks here, the boxes with these words. Okay, for the colored ones, there are no words from the top. Okay, so you don't really use that. There's no adverb for permission. All right. Okay. Next, you have the word here. And what you need to do is, the word could be, I don't know what word class, compete here is a verb, but you have to change the word class to another word in the same word family. This is a verb. It doesn't make sense for you to say economists often argue that compete is good. No, you need to know that here it requires a noun, and the noun version of compete is competition. Okay, so you have to change the word class to fit it in correctly so that this sentence makes sense. Pretty much the same thing. You choose for each number, you choose one word which will fit in both places, but it will use different word classes. Okay, so for example, supporters of Darwin's theory believe, this is a verb in the present simple tense. Then this belief, this is a noun. The subject is always a noun. This belief. So belief and believe are both in the same word. They mean the same thing, just different word class. All right, so choose one, and then both may have different word classes. Okay. And that's all. I don't want you to do task 8, so finish this until here. Let's go to the next unit, which is a unit on collocations. This gets kind of very interesting. The first 2 units that I gave you to do are really basic stuff that still most students are not able to do, so it's important to go through this, but it gets a bit more interesting, and my students learn a lot when I teach them about collocations and word grammar, or I would say word patterns. Okay, so let's look at this. Collocations are basically words that go together, right? They go together naturally, and there are no reasons for that, right? And of course, like I said, I touch on collocations and word patterns, word grammar very in more detail in my writing class too. And a lot of homework relates also to these 2 areas, right? So read through all this, and we'll start from here. The activity is to look through this whole paragraph, and for this noun, what verb is used? for this word change, what verb comes before. All right. This is just an observation task for you to notice what words go together. And for this, what adjectives go before these nouns. Okay, very simple, right? You just study this paragraph properly. Then this activity, 1, 2, 3, focuses on the noun pressure. 4, 5, 6 focuses on the noun doubts. 7, 8, 9 focuses on the noun opportunities, and then they have questions before what verbs are used before these nouns. So all you gotta do is go to pressure, what verbs is used, or put. Okay, I'll put the base form. Okay, and what verbs are used before doubts and opportunities, all in the 9 sentences. And then when pressure, doubts, and opportunities are followed by a preposition and a noun, what are the prepositions if there is a preposition? Okay, a preposition is something that you should go and find out also about, not just nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, but prepositions and conjunctions also, okay, which I cover in writing class 2. All right, and then you can do this question too. Now, you don't really have to do this. You can if you want to. I'm not going to go through this. Then it comes to here. You have to fill in the blanks, and you'll probably need to use a preposition or whatever it may be, or a verb or whatever, okay? So just fill in the blanks with the correct word. Okay. Now it goes, this activity requires you to think of the... let me just state something here, as if you're wondering, why in the world do we need to know collocations, okay? This is the reason, okay? Say, for example, you want to use the word homework, which is a noun, and if you use, you probably need to use a verb before. So maybe yesterday, John is your subject, and then you need a verb. What his homework, right? So some students may put, well, the correct one is John did, because do the verb goes with homework. You need to use the correct verb, right? But if someone says John made, past simple, made his homework, it'll be a bit awkward. It's wrong. It doesn't go together, but you would still understand what he's trying to say. Okay? But it's just wrong. So what you need to do, and collocations, as I mentioned to my students very often during my classes, collocations, the word collocation is actually in the what you call IELTS band descriptors, a document which is available online. Okay, anyway, I give it to my students during my classes. And it's available online, and basically it's in the band 7. It's mentioned in band 7 for writing and speaking under lexical resource, okay, under vocabulary. So this is a vocabulary kind of thing, right? And examiners are looking out for collocations because you need to know how to use words that go together naturally. All right. So that is the importance of this. It's the difference between, see, if you use the wrong collocation, if you say, "Oh, teacher, I have not made my homework," I would understand totally what you mean. It's just that it's wrong English. Okay, so a lot of times, not just in grammar, and not just in grammar and vocabulary, not just in vocabulary, but also in grammar. For example, if you say, "Teacher, I do my homework yesterday." Now, that is wrong tense. You're using the wrong tense, but I understand what you are trying to say. Okay, so the problem is that because a lot of times we use the wrong words, collocations, word patterns, which is what I'm going to talk about in the next chapter, or tenses, or whatever it may be. It doesn't mean that people don't understand us. Most likely, we are still at a level of English that most people will still understand us. And because most people understand what you're trying to say, even though your grammar, your vocabulary is wrong, what happens is that you have no incentive to change. Can you imagine if somebody says, you try to speak to somebody and the person say, "Oh, sorry, I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I don't understand you." Then you will have the incentive to make yourself clearer. And maybe you made a mistake in one area, and then you will really say, you tell yourself, "Okay, I need to work on this area. If not, nobody's going to understand me," right? So there's that incentive to change if somebody doesn't understand you, and it gets very frustrating when you can't communicate with other people. But because your language is at for most students, their language is at a pretty good level, okay, maybe at a 6 or so, 6 to 7, but they still make a lot of grammar, collocation mistakes, word pattern mistakes, etc., vocabulary mistakes, and people still understand what you're trying to say. And because people understand what you're trying to say, you actually think what you said is okay, and you repeat the same mistakes over and over again, all right? And that is the problem, because we come to a stage whereby we repeatedly make the same mistakes because nobody has told us it's wrong, and we've said this in a certain way before, and nobody has complained. So they understand what you mean. And if they understand what you mean, okay, I'm going to say the same thing over and over again, okay? And it comes to a point whereby to break this habit and the way you use certain words or your grammar or your vocabulary, to stop doing it that way, which is the wrong way, it's going to be difficult, right? So anyway, so it's a slow process, but anyway, so my point is that collocations are important. A lot of students use the wrong collocations, and you need to correct that. You need to work on that. It first starts by understanding that it is actually wrong, and to know how to correct, to use the right collocations. And that's what I teach in my classes, and that's what I'm going to teach you here. All right. Even though you go through the videos here, either before my writing class or after my writing class, I teach pretty much the same thing, but it needs to be reinforced, because you're not going to get it straight away. Okay, so so as I was saying, this one collocation kind of the combination is verb and nouns. It's the most common. When you have a noun, you have to use the right verb. So anyway, this is training you to basically look at dictionary. I'm going to teach you where you don't just look at a normal dictionary, but look at a collocations dictionary. Okay, put these words in, and you try to find various other verbs. These are all nouns, verbs that could go with this word. Okay, so for example, business is a noun. You are not going to say make business. Oh, my father made business with that person last year or something like that. No, you don't use make with business. Okay, so I'm going to show you where exactly you need to go to, and this is what you call a collocations dictionary. It's a free online dictionary. All right, and you can put, say, business. This is a very useful dictionary. I get all my students to use it. If you put the noun, they'll show you verbs, they may show you adjectives and other collocations, okay? So you could use conduct business, carry on business, do business, transact business. So just put some of these words here, okay? Just put 3 of them for each, okay? So just go, after that, go to effort, go to the OSDIC, and so on and so forth. Now, just be careful, okay? That sometimes different meanings of the word will have different collocations. Okay, let me just show you this. Pressure. Okay, by the way, most students say give pressure. He gives me pressure. That's actually not the right way. It's not a very good collocation. Give pressure. Okay, but most students use that collocation. Why? Because it is common in many languages. So they kind of like, oh, in my native language I use give pressure, like in Chinese. The collocation I think is 给我压力. Okay, my Chinese is not perfect, but so if you come across that, some Chinese students use give pressure because in their native language it's like that. Right? But you have to understand that don't just trust in your native language. If there's that collocation, that word combination in your native language, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same in English. Okay. Now, so what I was saying is here, okay, look at high pressure. That's a collocation, high pressure. Adjective pressure. But this is when you use pressure, the meaning of pressure is the force of a gas or liquid. Then you can use high pressure. Okay. But if your meaning of pressure is, say, attempt to influence someone, you don't use high pressure. All right? You don't use high pressure. So sometimes you have to take note. The collocations, the combinations for one meaning of the word may be different from the combinations of another. Right? So anyway, go to this dictionary and write 3 words. Gives you a bit of an understanding awareness that there are certain words. You can't just choose any word you like. Okay. Now, just to take note, just because the word's not here doesn't mean it's not. You can't use it. Okay, you can't use that collocation, you can't use that combination. It just means that it is probably not the most common ones, okay? Because no dictionary can write every single thing that you can use, okay? Of course, they'll use the most common ones, common collocations, common combinations. Same for this preposition. I think they're testing your preposition, all right? So you also have the correct preposition. A lot of students use the wrong preposition, okay? So this is about using the right preposition. And adjective and nouns, all you got to do is circle the adjective, purpose is the noun, underline nouns, purpose, okay, main, so just circle main. Same thing again for this. Just now we had the noun and we put the verb. Now we have the noun and we want to find an adjective, so I'll go same thing, put problem in OSDIC, this Collocations dictionary, and look at the adjectives and just choose some, right? Adverb and verb, adverb and adjective. Why do they combine together? Because adverb describes a verb and adverb also describes an adjective, right? So what you have to do, firstly, you underline the adverb. Adverbs, I'll give you a clue, most adverbs end with ly, so this is the adverb. And then you answer the question. Basically what you want to do is, if this is the adverb, what is it describing? Effectively, what is effectively describing? It could be describing a verb or it could be describing an adjective. Here it's describing a verb. So it's not describing an adjective, it's describing a verb. So anyway, you complete this, okay? That's why managed effectively. This is for the verbs. If it's an adjective, then you put it under this column, okay? And lastly, this is just exercise you complete, the same for the this one in the word class, the review. Answer it not from your knowledge outside the chapter, but it's all in this chapter, okay? So don't give me another collocation through the dictionary. Just go look in this chapter and what collocation did you see? What verb did you see with trouble? Okay, it's all in this chapter, okay, from this unit, okay? So at least you learn and you revise what you learned from this unit, okay? So that's all. Just stop here, okay? Right, this is the last unit I'm going to do. This is on word patterns or word grammar. The heading of this chapter is called word grammar, but same thing as the word patterns. I call it word patterns, okay? And they actually use the term word patterns here, okay? Firstly, this is a noun pattern, all right? Let's go through this and then answer the questions. Now, this is a noun followed by noun complement clause, okay? This is a very complex name, but what it means is that certain nouns are followed by a that plus a clause. A clause is a subject and a verb. All right, certain nouns. We're talking about nouns. First, we're going through nouns, and after that, we are going to go through adjectives, then verbs at the end. Okay, if you go through my writing class too, the notes I gave you regarding word patterns, I will talk about nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Okay, and then the patterns, a lot of it is mentioned here. Okay. So anyway, this is a noun. You see, let's have a look. In a sentence you can just say I have a belief. Okay, full stop. So this is your subject, which is a noun. This is your verb in present simple tense, and this is like your object. Okay. Now you can carry on further by extending it using this pattern. I have a belief that people are good. So this is your that plus clause. That is that, okay? That normally comes with another clause, which is a subject and a verb again. So this is your that plus clause. You don't have to extend it like that, but this is a pattern. You can use it for belief. Now again, where do you find out where all the patterns are? Most of the time you're going to find it through the dictionary. They tell you the word patterns, okay? See, believe that. All right, so this tells you that this word belief, this noun, can be used with this pattern. All right, okay, carry on. What you need to do for this is tick those words with a that can be used with a that plus clause pattern. All right, and how do you know which words can be used with a that plus clause? This becomes a bit more difficult. I'll just get you to go to the dictionary. All right, now I'm going to get you to in this unit, you're going to use two dictionaries, okay? As I mentioned, Macmillan is my favorite. This is the #1 dictionary I always go to. It is not the best, it is not the most comprehensive, but I like the format, I like the user interface, I like how they, they make it very clear with the bold and all that for some of the collocation. You see, when you look firm belief, strong belief, what are they telling you here? They're giving you an adjective with a noun, the collocation. Firm belief normally comes together, strong belief normally comes together, popular belief, widely held, all this. If you go to belief, all right, if you go to belief, firm, you see, deeply held, strongly held, all this, widely held. Okay, so these are so, why do they put it in bold? These are so common that they give it to you here, right? And then they also give you the patterns. Believe in, believe that. I'll talk about this pattern later, okay? But believe that plus clause, right? So anyway, this is one dictionary. I like this dictionary, but it's not the most comprehensive. And the next dictionary, the second dictionary I go to is Longman dictionary, and gives you, it's a bit more comprehensive, but I don't like the format, the layout, okay? But sometimes you will need to go to both, and probably to this, because sometimes they give you information in the Longman dictionary that you don't find in this dictionary, okay? So just to let you know, use both dictionaries as you do this chapter, because sometimes you may not see what you need in the Macmillan. Go to the Longman, okay? Like some patterns are in the Longman but not in the Macmillan. So Longman's a bit more comprehensive, right? Okay, and as I said before, some things may not even be both dictionaries. Doesn't mean you doesn't have that pattern, or doesn't have that collocation, or whatever it may be. It just means that every dictionary you go to, there's only a certain amount of, there's a limit to how comprehensive you can be. If you're going to write every single thing, every single collocation, every single word pattern, then the dictionary is going to be very long. So they have to limit. They just put the most common ones. You look at this. This is a collocations dictionary. It specializes in collocations. It doesn't even give you the meaning, just like a normal dictionary. It doesn't give you the word patterns. It gives you the collocation. Look how many collocations there are, And of course, they're not going to. A dictionary cannot put all this here. If not, it'll be too long. Okay, so you will sometimes see collocations, and that's because it's so common that they think, okay, I have no choice but to put it in, because this is really, really common. Okay, so yeah, I can tell you that even Ausdic is not the most comprehensive. There are ways that you can find to look at things in a more comprehensive manner. Programs you can use, right? Okay, let's go back to this. So the activity here is to look at these words, put it in both Macmillan and Longman, because Longman will tell you a bit more. I think for some of these words, you put it in Macmillan, they don't have the pattern, but Longman has it. Okay. Anyway, and then if there is that pattern, like belief, you just saw just now that there's that pattern. So that plus clause, then just put a tick. And if it doesn't have that pattern, this particular word doesn't use this pattern, then don't put a tick. Okay, not every word will use a particular pattern. All right, so they're trying to get you familiar with some common patterns. This is a very common pattern, that plus clause, and let you know that some words use this pattern, some words don't. So if a word doesn't use this pattern, then you can't use this pattern. Okay. By the way, that just to let you know, that could mean many things. Okay, if you look at the dictionary, what the definition of that is, right? Either can be a determiner, can be a demonstrative pronoun, conjunction, blah, so many things, right? Okay, and it's also a relative pronoun. A lot of people use it as a relative. We use it as a relative pronoun. Okay, but this is kind of used as a conjunction here. This that plus clause is kind of used as a conjunction. Okay, but don't be confused with another way we use that. For example, he the car that is blue is mine. This is a relative pronoun because it is describing the car. Okay, it's still, you have a verb here, but you don't have it's not a subject, right? You don't have a subject plus a verb. It's a clause is a subject plus a verb. All right. So this is used as a relative pronoun, okay? But anyway, just don't get confused, but don't confuse yourself also, because these are very advanced stuff. But I'm just letting you know that this kind of that is not the same as what we're talking about. Okay, right? Okay, now then we go to task 3. Here you have 4 different patterns, a preposition. All this means after a noun, there could be different patterns. It could be a that plus clause, which we just went through. It could be a to plus infinitive meaning base verb. It could be a preposition plus, after a preposition, you should know a preposition. After preposition comes a noun or a verb ing. Gerund is a verb ing. Or it could be a WH word. Okay, so now this activity is very simple. All you gotta do is, okay, look at all these sentences, and they already underlined the noun for you. So they're asking you basically is such a simple thing. After the noun, one word after the noun, what pattern are they using? Okay, so system 4. 4 is a preposition. That's why you have 1. The Prime Minister rejected claims that, that plus a clause. So here you will put 2. Okay, so go through this. Right, same thing for this again. Okay. After the noun, what kind of pattern? Okay, all right. In writing class 2, I expand a bit more on all these different kinds of patterns. But the common ones for nouns, verb, and adjective is that preposition, either after that noun, verb, or adjective, you have a preposition, you have a that plus clause, or you have a to plus infinitive pattern. Okay, now 2 plus infinitive is 2 plus base verb. Okay, now just now I mentioned about belief, that this is that pattern, but do you realize that this belief can also have an in pattern? This belief has a preposition in. This is in is a preposition. So do you see that word like belief can have more than one pattern? Doesn't mean you only use that pattern. Same for a lot of words. Okay, let's try another word. Let's talk about nouns first, because this whole section is on a noun. Let's think of a noun. Well, let's use suggestion. Okay, I'll give you a bit of a clue here, because suggestion was used here. So suggestion, does it have a that pattern? Yes, but look at that. That's not the only pattern. Suggestion 4 suggests it can use a preposition pattern too. All right, another preposition pattern or that pattern. See, so see, your preposition could be for, about, of. Okay, now why is it different? I mean, these, don't forget, these are all under different meanings. Okay, so 1, this is the first meaning. 2, okay, remember, even furthermore, even if it's different, this word is used with a different meaning, then it could have a different pattern, could have a different collocations. These are the collocations. Sometimes Macmillan gives you collocations also. Okay, so this is an adjective collocation, alternative suggestion. If you look at all this, you realize, oh, it sounds so natural. People use it like that. I've heard it like that. Alternative suggestion, constructive suggestion, helpful suggestion. Or you adopt a suggestion, you make a suggestion, you offer a suggestion, you oppose a suggestion, you reject a suggestion. If you really go through this, you will think that, oh, these sound so natural, because that is what collocations are. Natural sounding combination of words. All right. Okay, so going back to the word patterns, this is just to get you to first notice what kind of patterns are being used for these different words. Okay, so it's very easy. Just put 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after that, we come to noun combinations. Okay, we talked about noun just now. Okay, what you could do is you could go to, say, OSDIC again for the noun combinations. It's like, what is it? Figures. Is it figures? What was one of them? Government. Okay, so government. So you have, do you have a noun? Government agency, government body. You have a noun after government. You could have a noun before government. You don't really have nouns before governments, but yeah, just go to OSDIC again. You could try to find other noun combinations. Then I would say this is more like a collocation rather than the word pattern. But anyway, then you have adjectives. Okay, adjectives also have the same, just like nouns. You have that same pattern. Now you have 3 patterns here: that, 2 plus base verb, 2 plus infinitive, and preposition. Okay, again, the first thing is to notice. Please remember to read all this. Okay, to notice what kind of patterns necessary for. What is for? 4 is a preposition, so this will be number 3. The new situation made it necessary to rethink. Oh, this is a different pattern. 2 plus base verb. So this is number 2. So you realize, again, as I mentioned to you, the same word could have different patterns. Okay, so complete this. Now this is interesting. Which of the adjectives, these are all adjectives, can fit into, this is a very common pattern for someone to do something. Okay, and you always have the it is something. It is adjective for someone to do something. Now go through, this is where I tell you that you should use your Longman, because some of this Macmillan is not so comprehensive. So use your Longman dictionary here and go and like put common in, put bound in, put certain. Do they have this pattern? Okay, for example, common. Right, common adjective. Common. It is common for someone to do something. Okay, so yes. All right, so common. Now go through all of this. Now it's not just one of these adjectives. You can fit 2, 3, 4, whatever maybe. I don't know how many, but don't just look at one. Oh, common. Then okay, next question. No, some of these may also fit here. Same for this. Which adjectives can be used immediately before a noun? Which adjectives can be used with a that plus clause? That plus clause. Okay, so we see the that plus clause. Which adjectives can be immediately followed by 2 plus the pattern 2 plus base verb. All right. So remember, which of the adjectives could be more than one. Verb. Now we come to the verb. We've done nouns. We've done the patterns related to the patterns for adjectives, and now we're doing the patterns for verbs. Okay. The first thing you need to know is to understand what the transitive and intransitive. What is the difference between a transitive and intransitive verbs, which I go through in writing class 2. A transitive requires an object. Just like I've mentioned many times, if you say John hit full stop, it doesn't make sense, because this word hit here in this meaning requires an object. If you just put full stop, it doesn't make sense, because hit requires an object. Hit who? Hit what? Okay. Whereas if you say he slept full stop, that's okay. You don't need an object. Because sleep is not a transitive verb, is an intransitive. Intransitive verbs do not need objects are nouns, directly after. Okay, I'm talking about directly after. I'm not talking about preposition then an object. I'm talking about directly after. Okay, so if you say so read through this, and again, if you are not sure, I go through a bit more in my writing class too, but if you're not sure, Google in your native language transitive and intransitive verbs, okay, to understand a bit more. Right, this paragraph, put the whether it's transitive or intransitive, it can only be one. Okay, you can't put 2, because in this context now, it is possible that a word can be both transitive and intransitive. Let's look at this word kick. Okay, very often you kick someone, right? So very often, sometimes you have a verb which is in all its uses is transitive. That means it requires an object directly after always. And sometimes you have a verb in all its uses is intransitive. But most of the time could be both, depending on the meaning. Or even this meaning, you see, it can be used in both ways. Okay. Oh, this meaning also both ways. This meaning only transitive. This meaning only transitive. Okay. So if you look at sleep, you think that it's intransitive, right? The most common meaning is intransitive, but look at that. This is not a very common use of it, but it is transitive. Okay, so anyway, so a lot of times most verbs are both transitive and intransitive depending on the use, depending on the context, depending on the meaning. So, but in one particular use is always either transitive and intransitive. So took place, it's all underlined here. This use, is it transitive or intransitive? Okay, put all these words under here. Again, it's very easy. All you got to do is, because all these are just one, it's either transitive or intransitive. They have only one option here. And if you want, you could go to the dictionary. If you don't want, you want to challenge yourself a bit, think about it, don't look at the dictionary and find the easy answer, then just put it here, and then you can look at the dictionary after, or you can, when I go through my answers, then you can see whether you're right or wrong. Okay, just fill this in. Prepositions. Okay, if you have a preposition after, it's basically intransitive. Okay, because you need a preposition. Transitive verbs require an object, which is a noun directly after, not after a preposition, right? And here you will put VI or VT, depending on what is transitive and intransitive, in this context, okay? Because you will soon realize that, hey, why do you have govern here and govern here? Because here it is intransitive, there's nothing. You don't have an object. Here, it is transitive. The object is the import. So it's trying to, this exercise trying to make you realize that verbs could have both transitive and intransitive uses. Then this is a very common pattern: verb plus that plus clause. All right, verb plus that plus clause. This is very, very, very common. We always use it. Just let's look at believe. Look at this, okay? This has the that plus clause. Remember the pattern that plus clause? This has it, but why is this in bracket? It's in bracket because it's optional. Whenever you see in bracket, it's optional. And a lot of times we say, I believe that's whatever. I believe he is good. Do you see you don't use the that plus clause? This is a clause. He is good is a clause. Do you see you don't use the that? It's okay. And in speaking, a lot of times we leave out the that, but actually just know that this is using that plus clause, but the that is optional. Okay? But often in writing we use the that, but sometimes we also don't use the that. Okay? So this is that plus clause. Which verb uses this pattern? Okay, just tick the verb that uses this pattern. And then underline any verb with the that plus clause. Okay. And verb with WH words. WH is what, where, how, all that. Okay. And sometimes they have a WH word, okay, followed by a clause or followed by the infinitive. Okay. So some words, like if you look at consider, you write consider. The dictionary, they'll tell you the pattern is very often used with consider whether. Okay, it's just a WH word, so that is the pattern. Even doubt uses whether. Okay, so all you gotta do is put the WH word, just choose one and then complete the phrase, either with a clause or with a 2 plus infinitive, 2 plus base. Lastly, look, this is still the WH pattern. Just rearrange it and make a sentence. Okay, and the review here. Just these 5, you're going to review the different patterns here and give an example of these words, 3 verbs that can be used followed by that. Again, use it from this unit because I think all the answers can be used from this unit, can be found in this unit. Don't look at something else or look in the dictionary because I want you to revise this what you learned in this unit. Okay, just stop here. You don't have to do this. Okay, so that is all you have to do for the 4 chapters, and it's, trust me, you're going to learn a lot. Most of you are going to learn a lot, and it's going to be very helpful. All of my students, for many, many years, I've done private one-to-one tuition, and a lot of my students love this and they learn a lot. All right, you are going to learn a lot, and as you can see, I've given you a lot of videos. Either I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but some of you're going to listen to this before your class, some of you after some of the classes. Whatever it is, I'm going to give you a lot of videos, and I just want you, if you are watching this video and I'm giving this to you as a homework before you start my classes, my 4 weeks or 2 weeks or 4 weeks of classes, I want you to be prepared. You're going to have to put in a lot of work because that's the only way you are going to improve. Okay, so already this whole series is about an hour. Okay, just going through 4 of this, and you have not even done your homework. It's going to take you another few hours to go through all this, and then after that the videos are probably going to be about at least 1 to 2 hours. Okay, so just alone on this vocabulary. Okay.